Welcome to WagerTalk Today, the gold standard of sports betting shows where we talk the talk and walk the walk. It is $5 Tuesday. We are all about getting you ready for a big Tuesday, and we're going to look ahead to the weekend. Jesse Schule is going to break down Texas versus Kentucky, and he's going to give us two college football teams to bet on or fade, and we have to settle up on a friendly bet that we made live on the show last week. Then we're going to bring in Bryan Power, who's going to dive into NLCS Game 2 and Thursday Night Football between the Steelers and the Bengals. My good friend, the Prez, is going to join us. We're going to bury the hatchet. Apparently somebody, Dan, has started this rumor that Lawrence and I hate each other now and thinks it's real and that we're putting on a front. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Rams and Jaguars in London. We got big games. It's $5 Tuesday. We're going to talk about Contender Series, and we got a really special all around the world where I'm breaking down some season win totals that we have after week 6, and these are so good, I think a couple of them are going to be client play. So buckle up. We got a big show. Yanni is not here today. It's the last day of Contender Series, so it's sad for us, but it's great because we get Yanni back on Tuesdays. But I do want to do a quick little Steam report. It's important to look at some of these lines that are moving in NFL. So if you want to get some bets down, I would highly recommend getting them down sooner rather than later. Line is moving in Kansas City. I'm already seeing 12s, and there's even a 13 out there at home against the Raiders. If you want to bet on Cleveland, which is a terrifying phrase, I would get on it sooner rather than later. It's 2.5. There are some 3s popping up. FanDuel and DraftKings have already moved to 3. I believe Circa has as well. So if you want to get the number under 3 on Cleveland, grab that one. If you want to bet on Miami, then just wait and you're going to get a 3. We're almost over 7 in the New England-Tennessee game, so if you do not want this line to get to 7.5, bet you're betting New England sooner rather than later. So money's come in on Chicago. That line has moved down to 5.5, and the other move that I see is I shouldn't be surprised by this, but Denver opened -8 against the Giants. That is now down to 7. So if you're wanting to bet on the Giants or Denver, you're at the key number of 7. And then we've seen a pretty big move on Green Bay. Opened at 4.5. It's up to 6.5. So you want to bet on Green Bay before that gets to 7. Highly recommend you do that. So that's your quick little Steam report for the NFL. Thanks very much for joining us, guys. All right. So let's set the scene last week when Jesse came on. Georgia Tech was getting 14.5. Jesse said we're fading him, and I said I'll take that bet. I'll go head-to-head with you. It was a great suggestion here by Premium Picks. Andy, if you lose, I have to wear the Billy Bob teeth for the first 5 minutes of the next show. And if Andy wins, Jesse has to wear a Halloween mask in his segment and say he's hiding his face because he's not worth being in front of the great Andy Lang. So if you do not know what happened on that game, let's bring in Jesse. And so if you
are we going to tell them how Georgia Tech covered?
I don't think anybody's going to hear me if I try and talk through that mask. Let's talk about how Georgia Tech covered.
I'll let you talk about it because I had no business covering that spread by 0.5 point. I had no business winning that bet. Go ahead.
They got a 2-point conversion in the first quarter, the first touchdown of the game for no apparent reason.
No reason. There was no reason to go for 2. There was no reason to go for that 2.
Let's not forget my other fade was Florida State and sprinkle on the money line, pit one outright. We did that again. So this segment, we've given out double-digit dogs winning outright, I think, 3 weeks in a row now.
You've done fantastic on these. It's a hard thing to do, which is go against the grade, take a big favorite and say why we should fade him. So you've absolutely crushed that segment. And I laughed so hard when I saw them go for 2 early, and I was like, that just took away the 0.5 point, which was the biggest the biggest selling point.
They clearly pissed me off because I'm going against them again this week.
All right, well, let's first start off with Texas and Kentucky, and then we'll get your fade teams. Texas off of the big win. Is this a possible letdown spot against Kentucky, who apparently struggles mightily against good teams? What's your breakdown on Texas and Kentucky?
Is this a letdown spot? I'm going to say, Andy, Texas had their letdown spot. It was called the first 4 weeks of the season. They finally figured out how to properly use Arch Manning. This at one point was the number one ranked team in the country. We can't lose sight of that. Their value had dropped to the point where they were a pick'em at home against Oklahoma, who might have had a backup quarterback. Turned out John Mateer actually played. I'm high on Texas moving forward, at least in games against teams like Kentucky. Texas 4-2. They failed to cover in 4 of their 6 games. I was impressed with the 23-6 win over Oklahoma. Oklahoma's got a far better defense than anybody in the SEC, maybe the best defense in the country. Arch Manning, 21 of 27 passing, 166 yards. A lot of short passes. I mean, not throwing the ball downfield, but high completion percentage. I'm impressed with the fact that they forced John Mateer into 3 interceptions. That could have had something to do with the injury. The running back, Wisner, ran for 94 yards on 22 carries, which is an impressive feat against that Oklahoma defense. And they held Oklahoma to just 48 rushing yards on 30 carries. Kentucky, they're 2-3. They failed to cover in 4 of their 5 games. They're 0-3 in SEC play. They rank 14th in the SEC in total defense, allowing 402 yards per game. They rank 14th in the SEC in pass offense, averaging just 172 yards passing per game. They got a freshman quarterback, Cutter Boley. He's thrown for 627 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks, completing just 57% of his passes. And he's going to go up against a Texas defense that just absolutely shut down John Mateer in Oklahoma. Do I think it's a letdown spot? I do not. Texas is back, baby. They're back on track. They won this game 34-14 at home last year, or 31-14 at home last year. I think they win on the road here by a similar score. They will cover the 12 points.
I'd have to agree with you. I think that was very well said. Their letdown spot was the beginning of the season. Yeah, I think that there's some real truth to that. So I was really happy Yanni was on an island with Texas last week. It felt like, and that came through. So I was happy to see that go through for him. All right, every week we tell you can pick 2 teams to support or fade. We know you're going to fade a couple teams. What teams did you pick? You already spoiled one, Georgia Tech, but let's start with the other. Who's your first fade of the week?
Going to fade Georgia, and you might remember, Andy, before the season got started, I came on this show and gave out Georgia's win total under. I said I think they're going to lose at least 2 games, and this one was one of the ones I had circled as a potential trouble spot for Georgia. Ole Miss beat them last year. It's Lane Kiffin versus Kirby Smart. Obviously, the two work together as assistants under Nick Saban. I also mentioned that the culture is shifting in college football. The game is changing. And Kirby Smart comes from that old school Nick Saban style, sort of an authoritarian, old school recruiting classes and developing players. Whereas now the game has turned into more go out and get players in the portal, pay them with NIL money. And there's nobody better at that than Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin's like the more progressive, and it's getting to the point where I have to wonder, in the new era, is Lane Kiffin actually a better coach than Kirby Smart? And that people will clip that and they will make fun of me for that. But we'll see how it pans out over the next 3 or 4 years. I also mentioned that Georgia had some legal troubles in the offseason, a record amount of players getting arrested this summer. And it just seemed to me that Kirby Smart was maybe losing his control over his team due to the fact that these guys can come and go whenever they please. They can go to the highest bidder. And I don't know if Kirby is going to handle that well. Anyways, this is a tough matchup for Georgia. They've played a bunch of tough games in a row. Last week, that game against Auburn was close. It should have been closer than it was. A lot of bad calls went in the favor of the Bulldogs. And at the end of the game, Kirby Smart was surfing on a table, acting like he was 19 years old. That was a sight to see. Georgia's just 2-3-1 against the spread. They've come off a win over Tennessee. Then they had the bye before they lost to Alabama. They went and beat up on Kentucky, and then last week against Auburn. And now they're facing an Ole Miss team coming off a 24-21 win over Washington State. Obviously, it looks like Ole Miss was getting caught looking ahead to this Georgia game. We don't know for sure who's going to start at quarterback for Ole Miss. Trinidad Chambliss has thrown for 1,286 yards, 7 touchdowns, 1 pick. Statistically, he looks better than the starter, Austin Simmons, but Lane Kiffin has said Austin Simmons will get a chance to win his job back. I'd have to lean Trinidad Chambliss, but either one of them should be a capable quarterback. This one opened at 5.5, got bet up to 7. Now there's 7.5s on the board. I honestly think this is a difficult spot for Georgia. I know they're 33-1 at home since 2019. Now that the bubble has burst, maybe they'll be 33-2 after this game. So I'll take the 7.5 and I'll sprinkle a little on the money line.
All right. Going back to the well one more time with my Georgia Tech team. All right. You're fading them. They burned you once on a 2-point conversion, but you're going right back to them. I kind of can't blame you just because they really shouldn't have covered that game. They looked great early, but that was not the most confident cover in the world. What do you see not going right for Georgia Tech this week?
Well, it's just a really tough spot. Georgia Tech will actually be the dog in this matchup. They're getting 1.5 points. I think they should probably be getting 3.5 points because this Duke team is tough, and I don't know that Georgia Tech matches up well against them. Of course, Georgia Tech 6-0, 4-2 against the spread. I did give out Georgia Tech as one of my long shot teams to make the playoffs, but I didn't expect them to run the table. And this spot on the road at Duke, their last road game, they almost lost at Wake Forest. They needed overtime to come from behind and win that game. I'm really concerned about the use of Haynes King. I mean, I love Haynes King. He's a real gamer, but he's the heart and soul of his team. But he's averaging 17 yards per carry, and he runs the ball like a fullback. He doesn't, I never see the guy slide. Let's put it that way. When's the last time anybody's seen Haynes King slide? He usually lowers his shoulder and invites contact. A guy like that carrying the ball 17 times per game, that's not going to last all season long. That will come to an end, and we all know how that with a trip to the tent. We've seen Jackson Dart in the pros go into the tent every week the way he plays, and Haynes King is much the same. Duke on the other side, they got the number 2 passer in the ACC, Darian Mensah. He also ranks number 2 in the ACC behind Carson Beck in quarterback rating. Yeah, Duke's just 4-2, but that game against Illinois where they lost 45-19, that was a product of turnovers, 4 fumbles in that game. You can't handicap fumbles. You take away those 5 turnovers, and Duke would have had a chance to win that game. They were certainly moving the ball. Darian Mensah threw for 334 yards in that game. I'm not sure that this is a great matchup against a passing offense. Georgia Tech does struggle against the pass from time to time. They don't get a ton of pass rush. And when it comes to Duke's defense is actually pretty solid against the run. And we know that's all Georgia Tech does is run. Duke's only allowing opponents to average 3.4 yards per carry. If they can hold Georgia Tech under 4 yards per carry, I think they'll get the W at home here. So I will take Duke -1.5.
Care to make it a little interesting, Jesse?
Well, a mask and a wig, perhaps?
Let's do it. Give me Georgia Tech. I'm going to roll with Georgia Tech. We'll do the same bet. You have to do a mask and a wig next week. I have to wear the Billy Bob teeth to start the show and through your segment. I'm rolling with Georgia Tech here. All right, so that's an official bet. Jesse, you got Duke. I got Georgia Tech. Let's do it. Loving these. So it's $5 Tuesday, Jesse. What do you have up at WagerTalk?
I have a play on the Thursday Night Football game as my $5 play. That's available on my page right now. I also have a play in Major League Baseball. Been doing pretty well with Major League Baseball in the playoffs, doing pretty well with Major League Baseball for the season. Unfortunately, I'm coming off my first losing week in the NFL this past week. Still hitting 70% with my NFL picks, though, dating back to last year's playoffs, the beginning of last year's playoffs. So it's hardly time for panicking.
Yeah, 70% in the NFL is truly incredible. That's a hell of a run. Jesse's got a $5 play up for Thursday Night Football. Jesse, great segment, great breakdowns. You and I are one of us is gonna be in some kind of costume next Tuesday. So great job as always, Jesse. Jesse Schule, everyone. Thank you very much, Jesse. Have a great Tuesday.
Thanks for having me, Andy.
Absolutely. All right. Little talk in the chat about Survivor. Dan, you and I both advanced. So tough week in Survivor. The Chiefs are a pretty obvious pick. I said that I think I want to save the Chiefs, and 3 and 2 is like I don't get the point of saving teams when one loss and we are out. Yeah, there's a couple different mindsets, and my mindset in particular is if I lose this week or if I lose in week 16, it doesn't matter. So I have to think short term, but I also have to think long term with this. So there's a couple teams that I'm eyeing here, but it's not going to be the Chiefs for me. I want to save the Chiefs. They're healthy. They're going to be really, really good down the stretch. That's going to be a valuable team to have in the later weeks here. So, Dan, have you looked ahead at Survivor? I'm playing the long game here with this one. How have you been? Of course, we have to pull up the slide here.
Anytime. And I you know that I wasn't ready to talk Survivor because I didn't have my camera here set up for you, Andy. But I'm always ready to talk Survivor. That's
You're ready to talk.
You don't have to you don't have to get ready if you stay ready, Andy. And that's the separation is in the preparation here. But
wow.
For me, I mean, Kansas City Chiefs look good. We're seeing them as like 12-point favorites, but
yeah, they're the obvious one.
That's the division game that we always worry about. Raiders actually always play them tight. I don't know if this incarnation of the Raiders is one. And also it depends. What ref crew do we get for Kansas City? And then you can tell me how close this game will be or how close it won't be. I was honestly thinking about maybe taking a shot this week, Andy. And I know, now we're talking week 7. You start clutching your pearls a little bit tighter, but you have teams who are favorites to win games that will not be the rest of the year. Like you have a situation where you could take Cleveland here as 3-point favorites against a Miami team who's looking for any reason to get rid of their head coach. So
agreed.
This week is a little bit tougher. But again, Kansas City is the obvious one. If you want to be safe, you take Kansas City. Green Bay we used last week. So Green Bay on the road, something that you might kick around. One that I might just get in the bank now. I think Detroit's going to beat Tampa Bay. So, you want to go Detroit off a loss, returning home. There probably is going to be a better spot to bet Detroit later in the year. That's one that you probably don't want to toy with. Seattle against Houston. That's one too that I was thinking. So there's like 5 options on the board here for me, Andy, this week, which kind of worries me, but it also is nice that we have some options to kick around.
So Seahawks at home Monday night against the Texans. I'm telling you, this Texans team is not that good.
Yes.
They're fraudulent season so far. They've beaten bad teams.
Agreed.
Panthers at Jets. Dan, if you could squeak out a week where you get a win from the Panthers, how big would that be?
It would be huge, but also you're just buying the Panthers insanely high right now. You know what I mean? The Jets are awful, but do I want to back the Panthers when they're road favorites, when they were projected to be one of the worst teams
Panthers
of the year?
Are bad. Panthers are bad.
If they were at home, you could probably talk me into that. I don't think this is where I take because here's the thing again, Andy, we talk about teams that you would kick yourself losing with or teams that you would be like, all right, I lost in Survivor because a 14-point favorite lost outright. If in week 7 you lost because you took the Panthers on the road, you would be like, I'm an idiot. You know what I mean? Like that one would be hard to swallow.
I'm looking hard at the Patriots at the Titans. That was going to be my easy pick, and then Titans fired their coach. So now do we get a bounce back? But as pointed out in the chat, Vrabel going back to Tennessee. Is Vrabel really going to lose to his old team who has been absolutely terrible? Calvin Ridley's out. What weapons does this Tennessee Titans team have? Their defense is bad. They can't score. Their quarterback is literally just dropping the ball with nobody around him. So there's some interesting ones, but the 3-1-2 brings it up. Do you just survive in advance and take the chalk teams like the Chiefs, or do you try and plan it out? I'm going to plan it out. I'm going to try and take some chances because you got to hit 18 winners, which means you're going to have some bad teams get some wins throughout. So, I don't know. We'll see. Interesting talk and really good talk in the chat, guys. Appreciate that. So, it's $5 Tuesday. I got my $5 Contender Series bets the last week of Contender Series, guys. Roll with me. We're coming off of two $5 Tuesday winners. We got a play that is locked and loaded. We're going to be live on the Winning in the Shadows YouTube channel to watch the very last episode of Contender Series. There's 6 fights tonight. It's going to be fireworks. We're going to award the best fighter of the season tonight. It's going to be a great live show. And join me on $5 Tuesday for the last Contender Series pick of the season. We've been running pretty good in UFC and in Contender Series. We've hit 2 5% plays, a 4% play in a row. We've hit 2 Contender Series plays in a row. Full disclosure, we lost a couple small ones on Saturday, but the profits have been there. So join me. It's the very last episode until next fall on Contender Series. So let's get one more winner in the bag on Contender Series. That's over at WagerTalk.com, wt.buzz/AL. Let's bring in Bryan Power. Talk about a streak, Bryan. 8-0. 8-0 the last 4 weeks coming on this show, giving out picks. That is pretty incredible, man.
I'm just trying to impress you, Andy, and Dan Alexander, for that matter, even though we could not see Dan. But trust me, whether we hear or see, always trying to impress Dan.
Yeah, Dan just casually comes on and has rhyming, like what would he say, the separations and the preparation.
How do you live with yourself saying things like that, Andy?
Yeah, what is this, a high school lacrosse team? Come on, what are we doing here? All right, let's go to let's start with baseball, Bryan, and then we're going to talk about Thursday Night Football. You want to start with a little baseball here?
Why not? I guess it's more immediate. It's tonight. Even though you know what's funny, you guys were just talking about Survivor. The Thursday Night Football game, believe it or not, I don't think is a bad option. You guys didn't mention that one, but we'll do the baseball game first. I know the rule of thumb is you don't take road teams, and Lord knows I don't bet road favorites, generally speaking. But should we just get to it now since I teased it? I feel am I screwing up your format, Andy? I'm sorry.
No. Let's do Thursday night, and I will tell you that why I'm pretty sure Dan and I agree on this. It's a short week. It's a divisional game. These teams know each other. Weird stuff happens. Dan did a fantastic job laying off the Rams against the 49ers a couple weeks ago. So, and what happened, we lost a lot of people in Survivor. So I agree with you that on paper, Steelers, but this is such a weird game. But let's break this down. How do you see this going? We got Pittsburgh -5.5. Got over/under at 42.5. I'll tell you, that seems a little high with these two teams. What's your breakdown on this one?
Yeah, look, it's always a tough game to bet when you're talking Thursday Night Football. I mean, look what happened last week. I did, for the record, come on the program last week, say take the Giants plus the points. We didn't need them. They beat the Eagles outright. It's still early in the week, obviously, but here's what I know, okay, going to our Survivor discussion. I want no part of the Cincinnati Bengals in this game or really any other game for the remainder of the season. I don't think the Bengals are winning more than 2 games the rest of the season. Right now, I've got them power rated as the dead last team in the entire league. 32nd out of 32 teams. I know there's a lot of other metrics out there that support that assessment. I just saw Ben Baldwin with his weekly tweet with the tiers. Cincinnati's sitting right there in last. And coming into the season, we knew the Bengals were a stars and scrubs roster. Andy, well, as we all know, they lost their biggest star, quarterback Joe Burrow, to a likely season-ending injury. I don't think Burrow's going to be rushing to come back. And now, since he's going with 40-year-old Joe Flacco, who admittedly is probably an upgrade over Jake Browning, but he gave a game effort. Flacco did this past Sunday against Green Bay, first start with the team. He had just arrived. But the Bengals still lose 27-18 and were outgained by 2.5 yards per play. That game should not have been that close. Meanwhile, in a 4-0 sweep for yours truly in NFL Week 6, the Steelers were actually my game of the week. I laid the 5.5 against the Browns. I was joking with some friends on Sunday who were over the house. It was probably the first time in 10 years, Andy, I bet the Steelers as a favorite because they always seem to win close, so I never like laying points with them. But the play, it was more about fading the Browns. They were in a horrible spot, returning from London, playing a third straight road game, no buys in the mix, while the Steelers were coming off a bye. So a huge situational edge there for the black and gold. It obviously ended up being a 23-9 win and cover. We mentioned the record on the show. 8-0. I want to give something out here to the people. I'm not 100% certain I'm going to get to the window on this myself. You can always check back at wt.buzz/BP. I'll post it for free if I do. But what I've settled on for Thursday right now, Steelers team total over 23.5. You can bet this right now, minus 125 at DraftKings. Look, Bengals defense, guys, it's horrible. They've allowed 27 or more points each of the last 4 games. Meanwhile, the Steelers, they're averaging 23.8 points per game for the season, so right at that team total. But they've faced mostly good defenses, Andy. Browns, Vikings, Patriots, Seahawks. The one time Aaron Rodgers and company faced a bad defense was the season opener against the Jets, and they ended up scoring 34 there. So I think what I want to do with this, end of the day, I want to take Joe Flacco out of the handicap. I think there's a lot of variance there. He's got good receivers to throw to now, which was not the case here in Cleveland. So maybe he'll be better. I don't know. Let's just leave the Bengals out of the offense, out of the equation here. The Steelers just had 5 scoring drives against the Browns defense that is one of the best in the league. 3 of them were field goals, but I think they should put up a decent number of points here on Thursday against a horrible, horrible Cincinnati Bengals defense.
Yeah, I thought that was a real statement game for Pittsburgh. We know the Browns are terrible, but the defense is good. The fact that they were able to move the ball on them was quite interesting. I started Jalen Warren on a fantasy team, and I did not have high expectations. So I watched that game. I was like, wow, they're running the ball here. So yeah, I like that handicap.
And something else, going back to the survivor discussion, and will Pittsburgh win this game? There's a lot of talk. I was having a discussion this morning with somebody about if the Steelers win this game, and I presume they will, is there going to be value on betting the Ravens to make the playoffs? The Ravens are off this week. They're 1-5, but I don't know if you've looked at the schedule yet. It's a very favorable schedule coming out of the bye when presumably Lamar Jackson will be back. Why am I bringing that up right now? I think the Steelers, there is a real impetus right now. They know, that was the reason I took against the Browns. They have the chance to really put some separation between themselves and the rest of the AFC North with not just the win on Sunday, but a win here as well. Again, don't want to lay it, but I do think the Steelers are going to win. And, chances are they're going to put up some points against this crummy Bengals defense.
All right, Justin's just says if that was Prez calling, can you pick it up live on speaker? No, that was my business partner who clearly knows not to call me between 12 and 1 o'clock, but he does it damn near every day. I just happen to have it.
Isn't that great? I have somebody who calls me too every day. I said, don't call me at 12:15 on Tuesday, and then right at 12:16 my phone goes off.
It's my fault for having the ringer on, but he knows this. Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's talk baseball here, and low scoring game in game 1 on this one. I wonder if we're going to see more of that. Dodgers are up 1-0. Yamamoto for Dodgers. Peralta for the Brewers. Dodgers are up 1-0. How do you see this game going?
Yeah, so obviously we've already seen the road team take the first 2 games over in the ALCS. Now the Dodgers are going to look to do the same here in the NLCS. They win game 1. Andy, as you just mentioned last night, 2-1. That was largely on the strength of a historic outing from starter Blake Snell. I don't need to tell anybody who watched that game about that, but Snell was the first pitcher to face the minimum number of hitters through 8 innings in a postseason game since Don Larson's perfect game in 1956. So it really was one of the best postseason starts that I've ever seen in my lifetime. I wasn't around in 1956, obviously. Now, being able to take the first 2 games of a postseason series, obviously huge. You look at the current best-of-7 format, we have seen 17 instances in NLCS history of a team going up 2-0. Not surprisingly, 14 of those 17 times, the team that went up 2-0 advanced to the World Series. And Andy, I like the Dodgers to win again tonight. This is a 3% client play for me that you're getting for free right here on WagerTalk Today. Starting pitching has been outstanding for LA this season, or this postseason, pardon me. A collective 1.65 ERA. Just a 141 batting average allowed. You mentioned Yamamoto getting the nod tonight. It does just so happen his worst outing of the season came here in Milwaukee back on July 7th. He lasted just 2/3 of an inning and allowed 5 runs. But you look at the year-to-date profile, guys, that performance just feels like a clear outlier. For the season, Yamamoto, 2.49 ERA. He's averaging 10.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. I know he was the starter for the only game the Dodgers have lost so far in the playoffs. That was game 3 of the LDS against Dan's Phillies, but even that wasn't a bad performance. He allowed 3 runs in 4 innings, And historically, Yamamoto has bounced back very well. I believe he's 10-0 following a start where he threw 80 or fewer pitches. And you talk about outlier performances. Prior to the LDS start versus the Phillies, we're talking about a guy in Yamamoto who allowed 1 or no earned runs in 6 straight starts. So I think he gets the job done here. The Dodgers bullpen, it can be hairy. It was an adventure last night, as we saw in the 9th inning, but they're well rested. I think we can all agree on that, not just because of Snell's outstanding outing last night, but 3 days off between the series. I know a lot of people are probably yelling in the chat right now, hey, Milwaukee has their ace, Freddie Peralta, going tonight. He allowed 3 home runs in his 2 LDS starts, Andy. The Dodgers, they've got a clear power edge in this matchup. Second in the regular season in home runs hit. The Brewers were just 22nd. As you know, more often than not, the team that hits the most homers wins in the postseason. Plus 2 numbers for Peralta concern me, guys. A 3.65 FIP and an average of 3.5 walks per 9 innings. I think those numbers suggest he was a little bit fortunate to lead the NL in wins this year. So end of the day, I love the fact we're getting a cheaper price on the Dodgers relative to game 1. I look for them to take a 2-0 series lead.
All right. Looking for the Dodgers. Dodgers kind of flexing their muscle at the right time. So disappointment in the regular season, I would say, but they're one of these teams where it's championship or bust, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's 162. You can't be surprised. Coming off a World Series win, I mean, was the urgency there? You know, look at the other 3 teams that are still standing besides the Dodgers. There was all more of a sense of urgency. They didn't have the expectations. Obviously, the Dodgers did.
Yeah, I was doing NBA research. We're recording some NBA content later. I was looking at the Oklahoma City Thunder under their season win total just because it's so inflated. 66 and a half.
You talk about a regular sport where the regular season there's not a lot of impetus for the top teams. The NBA.
Yeah. I could see the Thunder screwing around and not really caring for the first part of the season.
That's a thin march. 66. Wow, yeah.
66 and a half. They're gonna win. I mean, they won 68 last year, and that was the easiest over I've cashed on an NBA future. I was like, these guys are injury proof, but coming off of the championship now, you get a little cocky, and so anyway, that's a story for another day. It's $5 Tuesday, Brian. What do you have up for everyone at Wager Talk?
It is. So I mentioned in that Steelers breakdown that it was a 4-0 sweep in NFL Week 6. You go back to last Monday, the previous Monday night, I've won 5 straight in the NFL. And plays that I believe if you Kelly Stewart would really be proud of. I had the Jags over the Chiefs last Monday. Talked about it last week on the show. I had the Giants over the Eagles on Thursday. Steelers were my game of the week on Sunday. Hit my teaser on Sunday. And then last night, it was the Atlanta Falcons outright over the Buffalo Bills. I knew that second half was going to be miserable watch when they didn't get that touchdown at the end of the half. It's the Falcons, everybody. You knew it was going to be a 90-minute stuff, but we got there, outright win. So I thought to myself, Andy, after sweeping the board in NFL Week 6, what a nice thing it would be if I offered my first bet in Week 7 for just $5. And you can get it right now at my page, wt.buzz/BP. It is a 4% best bet. I'll warn you, you're not going to like it. Except when it cashed out Sunday.
You went Jets alt line, didn't you? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I didn't do that. No, it's not bad. But I always like to give the disclaimer because we sometimes, Andy, as you know, we pick up new clients who may not be familiar with your handicapping approach on $5 Tuesday. Obviously, as you just heard me with the winners, you know, I have a predilection towards underdogs, and I'll just let you know there that before you yell at me, wait till Sunday.
All right. Bryan Power, everyone. Great work. Good luck on $5 Tuesday. And yes, it is $5 Tuesday. As Brian said, if you haven't tried out a handicapper and you're interested in getting a play, it's $5 today. You get to see the write-up, get to see their betting style. So it's a great way to lock in your favorite handicapper or just check out some handicappers that you haven't tried before. Get as many as you want, but also bet responsibly. Make sure we don't have our entire bankroll on plays on a Tuesday night. So mine is up in Contender Series. You heard Jesse's got his up Bryan has his up. We also have a few more specials that we are running at WagerTalk. These all expire at midnight. We have 7 days of picks for just $11 a day for Steve Merrill, if you would like that one. We also have 90 days of sports, and you're going to get 30 additional days added for absolutely free. And then by 2026, get the rest of 2025 for free. So you want to buy a year of picks, you get 2026 locked in, starts right now. So go ahead and grab those all over at wagertalk.com. All right, let's bring in Prez. Hey, Lawrence, listen, apparently you and I are mortal enemies. Apparently,
I hate you, Andy.
I hate having you on. The only reason you're on here is because they make me do it. If it were up to me, I would never talk to you.
I'm one of the owners, and I force you violently to have me on your show, which used to be my show. Yes. I hate you so much that I handed you my show. Yes.
You sent me a picture of that comment. Somebody said something how much we hate. I was like, were they joking? You're like, no, they actually think that.
It's wild. Andy, Andy, I want to address this here. I just put this up. American Gamblers, Gary Sharp. Great name, Gary Sharp.
Great.
American Gamblers won $135 billion in sports betting in 2024. Tickets, more revenue than any major sports combined. Firstly, it would be all major sports combined, but let's not worry about grammar. Andy, here's my question to you. Yes, I've taken the show over. What else is new? If you put $1,000 into DraftKings and you gamble it 100 times, did you just gamble $100,000, or did you just gamble the very same $1,000 100 times?
Well, I would bet based on how much I increase or decrease.
I understand, but the point I'm making is when you pay tickets to go to a Blue Jay game, they don't give you your money back, so you don't have a chance to use it again the next day.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, I built my bankroll up, but it was able to start a new business with it. So there's upside to it. So
Americans did not bet over $100 billion in 2024, Gary Sharp. Americans bet whatever they bet multiplied by how many times they bet it.
I feel like that's how much money I had on Contender Series last week. I really mean that. I have something I want to run by you, but I want to get your thoughts here on an NFL game here. That's why you've come on here. It's the London game, and we have sent them the Rams and the Jags.
Yep.
At least both starting quarterbacks are going to be playing. Normally when we send teams over there, it's like Carson Wentz versus, whoever. But interesting game here. I don't bet on these London games. I think they're too wonky. I feel horrible for anyone that went to that 13-11 debacle last week that was disguised as an NFL game. How do you break down Rams and Jags? Because I have a couple thoughts on these teams.
First, you don't. But then you get a call from Andy, who supposedly hates you, and says, can you break down a game that you're not interested in? And I say, can't I have another game? So, yeah. So, yeah. How am I doing, Andy?
I can't wait to get your thoughts on the game if it's coming anytime soon.
Brother, this game is a no-bet zone game from my perspective. And I hate to say that, but a no bet is a bet. It just prevents you from losing money on a bad bet. If I had to take this game, I would take the Jags plus the 3 points, simply because I'm getting 3 points and I'm getting the Jags off of a horrible game last week. If I had to bet the total in this game, I would bet the over. Last week the Jags put up 12, but they didn't move the ball up and down the field. They had a couple of bad turnovers. It was a horrible game. The week before they put 31 up against KC, 26 against San Fran. So this team can score and they can move the ball. And the Rams defense, we expected to be really, really good. I don't think they're as good as we thought coming into this game. They did allow only 3 points to Baltimore, but that's a little bit of a phony number. Sant Ran injured. Sant Ran was able to march down the field and beat the Rams in LA, put up 26 on them. Indianapolis put up 20 on them. The Philadelphia put up 33 on them. And Jacksonville's defense has allowed 28 and 31 this year as well. So if I had to bet this game from a side perspective, I would take the dog at +3. From a total perspective, I would take over the total. But the best part is I don't have to bet this game.
I agree. Of the $100 billion that we all bet, we do not need to bet a penny
on this game.
On this game.
And Andy, people have to understand, like, coming on here, you guys asked me to take this game apart. And I think I'm doing everybody a favor by saying this is a really tough game. And on top of it all, it's overseas. I don't know how these teams are going to travel. Like, it's just, I think you're just better off staying away from a lot of these overseas games. I mean, did you see last week's score coming?
No, I didn't see last week's score. Nobody did. Was that a scoregami? I wonder if that was a scoregami game. Did it? Can anyone confirm if that was a scoregami?
You know, Andrew, when I come on, Andy, when I come on, I like to preach and teach. Buy the half point and sprinkle Jags money line. So why would you buy a half point and sprinkle the Jags money line? So you want to buy from 3 to 3.5, and you want to pay 20 cents to do that. Kolb, I'm prepared to take your action all day, all night on every play you ever bet. That is a horrible, horrible thing to do. And I don't say this as a condescending jerk. I say this as a caring person who wants to protect your bankroll. Please, God, never buy off of a push ever in your life. And on top of that, never buy a half point, period. But if you're going to buy a half point, at least buy to the push, not off the push. Sorry, I'm a little bit emotional.
That's all right
now.
Do you have any thoughts on a game or a hockey game or anything that you do like?
I love the New York Jets.
Okay.
I love the New York Jets against, I know, RJ, it sounded condescending. I have tone issues. I get it. But you guys know me. I love you all. I love the Jets this week, Andy. And this is a team that technically could be 4-2. They could have got it done last week against Denver, which is who we think a really good team. Now, I understand that this New York Jets team is not a good team by any stretch. And I get that bad teams find ways to lose. But I don't think Carolina is a good team. Now, I know they won their last 2. They won 3 of 4. All 3 of those games were at home. This Carolina team does not travel well. And we have been watching, betting, and participating in the NFL for decades after decades. Name the last team that went without a win, Andy. I think it was the Detroit Lions, or maybe they won. Yeah. And I think that was like 12 years ago or something. It was a long, long time ago. Teams do not go without a win in the NFL. They are going to win games along the way, and I think they're going to win this week. Not only do I like them +2, Andy, but I like them on the money line. I think the Jets win this game outright against Carolina, and this will for sure be a circa bet, and it might be a client bet. So there. And another bet that I think has good value, Andy, is 11-1 Jays to win the World Series. I understand you can consider that a homer bet, but that is a big number. And this is baseball, and teams often win 3, 4, 5, 10 games in a row, unlike other sports. And I don't buy into Seattle. I don't think they're this juggernaut team. Do I think the Jays are going to win the series? Probably not. But at 11-1 to win the World Series, I think that is delicious value.
You have such a great idea, a concept. It's basically it can be sports related. Your topic of you just ask why, like why do we do certain things? Like what some of them are like why is hockey 3 periods? Why is football
Yeah.
4 quarters?
I'm going
go
to
through
start doing a whole social media series on why.
I love this concept. What are some of them?
Well, why is basketball 4 quarters, soccer 2 halves? Why are there 18 holes in golf? Why? Why is a par 4, not 5, like it should be when I play? Why? Why do you get to move the basketball all the way across the court simply because you took a timeout? Why? Why don't you get to go to field goal range with 2 seconds left in an NFL game if you call a timeout? Could you imagine the Super Bowl ending like
amazing.
that? You know, Kansas City down by 2 on their goal line, 2 seconds left. Are they going to call a Hail Mary? No! They went with the timeout technique.
Kolb has a good one. Why is men's college basketball halves instead of quarters?
Why?
Bro,
Why? Why are there's so many whys. I'm going to do a series on this. Why is a hockey rink not square? Why is a cricket pitch oval? Why is a baseball diamond a diamond? Why are there only 2 bases in cricket and 4 in baseball? Why do they wear protection in football but not in rugby?
All right, I have a food related one. I'm having iced coffee with, it's called Irish cream flavored syrup. I have been to Ireland many times. I have never tasted anything that resembles this flavor that's Irish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Irish spring soap. Ireland doesn't smell like that. It just doesn't. I don't know where we came up with.
Fortnite talks about tennis, and I want to address tennis. Why is it? Who came up with this cockamamie scoring program in tennis? And why is it love in tennis, nil in soccer, a duck in cricket, and 0 in North America? Who is coming up with all this shit? Anyway,
it's a great idea for a series. It really is. We're just asking why.
Betting,
all right, Prez. It's $5 Tuesday. What do you have up?
I got a 4% college football bet for Saturday. I love this bet. You guys will love it too. It's on a big game. Everyone will enjoy it. I'm rolling in 4% plays. Andy, these are my plays, bro. I'm on a 7-3 run in college football in my 4% plays, and I've had like 40 of them since January 1st. I'm 64%, so you can get that for $5. And it is a TV game with ranked teams. As well, I have an NHL play up tonight with my clients. Full disclosure, I had a horrible night in NHL last night. I went 0-3, so that was terrible. But I own the sport, and probably a good time to play me. I've started the season 3-7. Andy, I've lost 2 bets already this year with under 6, 2-1 with 5 minutes left in the game. 2-1 with 5 minutes left in the game, and both games ended 5-2. So I feel like I'm seeing it right, but I'm just getting some bad puck luck, and that's fine. It happens. This is an 8-month betting sport.
Yes. You go through multiple seasons. So it's a marathon, not a sprint. These daily sports, listen, they're great for building bankrolls, but they can be an absolute grind. So
Andy Schlane writes, what strain were you smoking when you went down this rabbit hole? Genuinely curious. I was smoking the Lang strain. Andy sent it to me, right? You grew it and you sent it to me.
Yes,
I don't smoke any weed, bro.
You're edibles.
Yeah, I eat them. Anyway,
yeah.
You should have seen me last night on Andrew McGinnis's show. Well,
I did see you.
10 a.m. I was like, but that wasn't weed. That was pain. I have torn my bicep, and I have been in so much pain. By the time 10 o'clock comes, I'm passing out in pain.
I get it. Well, I hope your back gets better. Let's keep cashing. Cash a few bets. Yeah, I hurt my elbow. I can't even go to the gym. I'm going to have to take like 2 weeks.
Are you taking painkillers? I do not take painkillers ever. No. It is the single worst thing you can do. It ends up masking your pain, and then you end up using your injury because you think you aren't in pain. Do not do painkillers. Suck it up.
I won't. Thank you, Prez. Have a good day. Cash some bets. Guarantee your back will feel better. Lawrence Presman, everyone. All right, let's do all around the world and then contender series, and then we're going to get out of here. Let's do all around the world. Okay, here's what I did for all around the world. I went and looked. This week I'm doing every NFL team. What's their current season win total? And are they worthy of client plays? I got a few more to do, but these are 3 of my favorites. So here's I think these Raiders and Dolphins are going to be client plays. I really like these. So season win totals. I'm looking at the Raiders under 5.5. They currently have a couple wins. They have a brutal schedule moving forward. I see 2 winnable games, Browns and Giants. Listen to some of these teams they play. At Chiefs, Jags, at Broncos, Cowboys, at Chargers, Broncos, at Eagles, at Texans, Chiefs, Week 18. I like the under on the Raiders. I do not see 4 wins on that schedule for that team. We'll move on to the Dolphins. Might be my favorite. Dolphins, they currently have a win, and their over-under is 5.5. The only winnable games I see are at Browns, Saints maybe, but the Saints are frisky. And then they're at the Jets, but that's in December. They do get the Bengals, but other games they have at Falcons, Ravens, Bills, Commanders, Steelers, Bucks, Patriots. Where do 5 wins come from this Dolphins team? I don't see it. And then we talked about this yesterday with Yanni. Ravens. They're 1-5. I've had a really good read on this Ravens team. You guys watched the last couple weeks. I've called exactly what the Ravens are going to do. They threw away the last couple games, and immediately after the game on Sunday, Harbaugh comes out, says, we're getting defense back, Lamar's back. After the bye, this is the Ravens' schedule. They have 1 win. I think they get over this 8.5. They go Bears, at Dolphins, at Vikings, at Browns, Jets, Bengals, Steelers, at Bengals, Patriots, at Packers, at Steelers. I think there's 9 or 10 wins in there. You give me a healthy Lamar and just a remotely competent defense, I think they rip off 8, 9 wins here. I love this over. It's very, very sneaky. They need everything to go right for them. They can't have another Lamar injury, but I really like that Ravens over. So I'm looking at the Raiders under, the Dolphins under, and the Ravens over. I really like that Ravens one just because I've had such a good read on them. So, all right, those are your NFL season wins. When Dan is next on, Dan's going to be on Thursday. We'll talk about our Eagles and our Colts season win totals because those are I did the Colts yesterday, and it's a tough one, but I want to get Dan's thoughts on the Eagles. All right, we're going to finish up with the last week of Contender Series. Every Tuesday, I try and make the case for all of the underdogs. These are not official bets. We'll start with Mario Mingaj against Wes Schultz. Both these guys are bad. Mingaj is very bad. Every week on Contender Series, there's been one just horrific fighter that we've been able to make a ton of money on. I don't see that guy this week, but if there is one, it's Mario Mingaj. He's really good at submissions. That's it. Wes Schultz just has to not get down on the mat with him. But if he does, Mario Mingaj can submit him. But this guy's 7-0. What a fraudulent 7-0. Yeah, this line is completely flipped on Naftalayev and Leka. It's basically a pick 'em. Leka's a little bit of a favorite now. He opened as an underdog, so you can make a case for either guy. It's going to be a car crash. 2 big guys. These are heavyweights. This fight ain't going the distance. Michael Oliveira and Victor Valenzuela. Oliveira is a big UFC prospect. He checks all the boxes. He's 8-0. He looks the part. Long, powerful. Victor Valenzuela will make this a car crash. That's his path to victory. Push Oliveira back, swing wild. All of Valenzuela's fights finish early. This guy's violent, and sometimes Oliveira can be too patient. If Oliveira's too patient, Valenzuela will knock him out. So Valenzuela, make it chaotic. That's his path. Rahiki and Malumba. Malumba can do it everywhere. He can fight on the ground. He can submit. He can ground and pound. Rahiki's coming off a really good league from Australia, but Malumba's more versatile everywhere. Malumba's absolutely there. Juan Diaz and Juan Quan. If you don't watch this for any other reason, you want to watch this Juan Quan guy fight. He's got the body of a beanpole. He's super skinny, and that's going to be the path to victory for Juan Diaz. Get to the chin or punch him in the body because Juan Quan is about as skinny as I've never seen a fighter this skinny. I truly have never seen anything like this guy. This fight's not going the distance. Diaz just needs to get to the chin once, and Quan's out of there. Freddie Vidal and Levi Rodriguez. Freddie Vidal is the case you can make is that he wrestles and gets it to the ground. If this is on the feet for more than 30 seconds, Levi Rodriguez is going to knock Freddie Vidal into next week. Freddie Vidal's got to wrestle and get on the ground. All right, that's your case for all of the underdogs here on Contender Series. Thanks for joining us again. My $5 best bet is on this Contender Series. We've hit 2 in a row. And this is the very last week of Contender Series. Let's go out with a bang, guys. Join me on this $5 play. It's over at wt.buzz/AL. If you don't want a Contender Series bet, there are plenty of $5 plays up at WagerTalk. We got NFL, we got college football, we got MLB, we got NHL, you name it. We got you covered. So don't miss out on $5 Tuesday. Don't forget to hit the like button on the way out. Leave us a comment in the comments section. Tell us your best bet for tonight. Tell us what you agree or disagree with on the show today, and we're going to do it again tomorrow, same time, same place. Good luck in all your bets. Take care.